Hey everybody, this is Mr. Storm. In this very quick video, we're going to talk about a different kind of loop called a do-while loop. So in the last lesson, you learned about while loops. In this lesson, we're going to learn about do-while loops, because do-while loops work almost exactly the same way as a while loop. There's just one big difference. Look at this do-while loop here. So we're going to start with an integer variable with a number called number, and it's set equal to 1. That's just to give us something to move through, something to change in the loop. We're going to start with this keyword do. All right. And then we have our brackets here, our squirrely brackets, our French braces, whatever we want to call them. And inside we have pretty much the exact same thing that we had in our while loop just a minute ago. We have console.writeLine and then num. So we're outputting the value of num. And then we're going to increase num by 1 every time. Now down here we have our while, and we're checking for the value of num to see if it's less than 5. So this looks almost the same, except the while is down below the code that we're going to execute. That's because it's logically the opposite of what a while loop does. While loops check first, then run the code if the condition is met. Do while loops will run the code first, then check, right? So it'll run the code first, then check to see what happens. So let's see what this change will make to our program. I'm going to create a new REPL. I'm going to call this do while loops practice. All right. Let me fix my brackets here. Okay, and just like in the last program, we're going to create a new integer variable. We'll call it num, set it equal to 0. And then I want to do, and inside the do, I'm going to do console dot write line. We'll output the value of num. Okay. And then we will num plus plus. Now, after the do, I'm going to write while num is less than 5. Now, there needs to be a semicolon after this while statement. Now, in the last time, when we were working on while loops last time, or in the last lesson, we didn't put a semicolon at the end of this, comparison, right? But because this is technically the end, the logical end of this statement, we need to put a semicolon here, okay? So don't forget that semicolon. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So notice we get the same output. We get the same result as before. It doesn't look like anything's different between the do while and the while loop. We get literally the same result, but again, this is allowing us to do something before we check for a comparison, right? So let's make sure that we understand that concept before you move on. The do while will run the code, then check, whereas the while will check and then run the code. All right. Now, also with this, just make sure, just like with the while loops, you're paying attention to infinite loops and making sure you don't include an infinite loop in your program. But really, that's looping in a nutshell. That's the whole concept. It's pretty easy. And if you logically can understand what we're doing here, then this should be very, very easy for you to move through. All right. So that's it for this lesson. Go ahead and take the loops quiz, and then you'll move on to the number guessing game.